We are going to have a good old chat about the food at Citywalk and Universal Orlando's on-site hotels.
In general, from a vegan perspective,
from a gluten-free perspective,
and from a dairy-free perspective.
This is episode 592 of the Unofficial Universal Orlando Podcast. Hey everyone, welcome to the show. I can't believe we're getting very close to 600 at this point. This is a continuation of last week's podcast, so if you listened to it and you enjoyed it and you're back here, welcome back. If you listened and you didn't like it, then I guess we'll see you next week. But I am joined by the same people who were with me last week, my good friends Kayla.
Hello again.
Kelly.
Hey.
And from Universal Orlando Vegans, Shelby.
Hi.
Welcome back. I'm excited to talk more food.
I'm so hungry already.
I'm so hungry.
It's not good, is it? I know.
I ate 3 little crackers and I can't. I need like a meal.
So as I said, I think this is going to be a very different chat from last time because I feel like I know that Citywalk not so much, but the hotels are one of those places that when I'm thinking about eating at Universal, the hotels aren't something that generally spring to mind, even though we've eaten a lot more there in the last few trips, I guess. Like I know Kayla and... No, Kelly, you weren't there, were you? The progressive water taxi, walking taxi, whatever the hell you want to call it, that we did as part of last weekend. Like, I got to eat at places that I've never eaten before. And there are so many good options at the hotels at Universal Orlando. I mean, Citywalk's a given. That place has changed. It doesn't even look like a shadow of itself from like 10 years ago. If you think how much Citywalk's changed in the last 10 years, there's not much of it that's still there. There's only, Hard Rock, Margaritaville, which is terrible.
Bubba Gump?
Yeah, Bubba Gump.
Is Bob Marley still there?
It is, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, and the one next to it, Pat O'Brien's. But like major restaurants, they've all changed, haven't they? You know, you've got Big Fire and Red Oven, Cowfish, Vivo, Toothsome, MBC. I feel like I'm missing one. Antojitos. And then even just down to the smaller options of Hot Dog Hall of Fame and Bread Box, Benchies, Cold Stone, Voodoo Donut. It's such a different place now, food-wise. It's funny, actually, I realised that we were focusing on the parks last time and we had quite a conversation about Voodoo Donut.
And Amatistos, I brought up that too. So.
I've never thought about that. It was too easy to get wrapped up in the conversation. But again, like we did last week, we're just going to kind of talk about our experiences at the hotels and Citywalk from our 4 very different perspectives. So I don't know if anyone wants to kick it off.
At Citywalk, especially the sit-down restaurants, there's so many options, and I think it's because they're regular real restaurants versus like in a theme park.
Yes.
Yeah.
Makes
sense.
So if you're at all concerned about in theme park eating, Citywalk is your best bet. You will not struggle. You can eat at any restaurant. I haven't eaten at all of them, so I can't give advice. I know you can eat there, and I'm almost certain it will be a great experience.
It's one of those things, I don't know whether it's the same for you guys, but a lot of the time when I'm in the theme parks and there's nowhere you kind of want to eat in the park at that time, I never think about leaving to go to Citywalk. It's such an alien concept to go, we can literally walk 5 minutes out of the park and have these world-class restaurants there, but I'm just probably going to eat at some crappy quick service place because it's just, I don't know, it seems weird to walk out of the park.
It is important to say, though, it is really easy to get to Citywalk.
Yeah.
And it's relatively easy to get back in the parks. So like it doesn't add that much time to your day to go.
No.
I'm saying that because if you're used to going to the Mouse, you might be like hesitant to do that.
Yeah, but
because it's not as easy to go to. Yeah.
You've also got to take into consideration that a lot of the restaurants on Citywalk don't open for lunch.
Yeah,
that's true.
Which we've been stung by a couple of times, not realising and think, we'll go there for lunch that day, and realising it doesn't open till 4 o'clock.
But you know who does open and has the best gluten-free vegan sandwich? Breadbox.
I've not been to Breadbox yet.
I think it's hilarious. When I was like making my notes or refreshing myself, that I was like, I need to tell the gluten-free people that bread box, which you would read and think like, nope.
Mm-hmm.
Their gluten-free bread is great.
Okay.
And the gluten-free vegan I got last time, and I think it's going to be like my new, I'm going to get it every time. Add to the list.
Is the the gluten-free bread vegan too? I'm just asking because typically it's not. But are you talking about the hot vegan?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry. The hot vegan.
So good. It's okay. I knew what you were talking about. I just wanted to confirm.
Shelby, you live in Orlando. Are you a hot vegan?
It is very hot outside. So yes, when I go outside, I'm very hot.
Thinking about this podcast coming out in December and the fact that it's like 112 degrees outside, and that's not an exaggeration.
It's not. It's not. I went outside earlier. I melted.
Yeah.
And then Breadbox was the place that when I ordered, it was wrapped in a bag, and that like I heard the person say about like next time wear gloves when you're delivering the order.
You got it.
Okay. Yeah.
So they're very careful about cross-contamination at Breadbox. So that's really nice. And that's like a quick service if you didn't know. So it's not a sit-down meal. You can get it. I ate it on the bus back to the hotel.
Oh, Crystal, I love that. It's like the opposite of the breakfast bus sandwich. Just on their menu, what are these abbreviations? What's DS?
Dairy sensitive, so it can be made without dairy.
What's FS?
Or fish sensitive?
Fish sensitive?
I think
It's one of the, like shellfish might be one of the top 9 major allergens. So a lot of places. If you scroll all the way down to the bottom, it'll tell you.
It'll tell you.
Okay.
I think there's like SFS and FS.
Yes.
Like
yeah. So fish sensitive and shellfish sensitive. You're right. There is. I should have just looked at the bottom. That would have been the sensible thing to do. That's a consistency issue. They don't put them at the bottom of every menu. So like some of them you have to like go find another menu that has the little legend at the bottom. Wow.
It is better than it was. There's
infinitely
improvement.
We didn't have. I mean, we hardly had labels 3 years ago. I'd say it was really like when they started, and now with everything being like more. Other than just being like, here's a vegan option or a vegetarian option, like with the dairy and the fish and the gluten, like they've really done an outstanding job of that.
Yeah, it's one of those things. Sorry, Kelly, that we've talked about it before. That Universal, especially now, and then even probably more so when Epic Universe opens, are really putting themselves in a position to be a major competitor to Walt Disney World. And yet you look at things like this, and this is where they still need to step things up substantially, quite honestly, if they really want to compete with Disney at every level.
I would like to volunteer myself if they're listening
as vegan consultant.
I will help them. I will label all the things. It doesn't have to be vegan. I will label gluten. I will label all of the things if they would like to extend that offer.
Yeah, interesting. I know from like talking about Citywalk as well with Bend the Bow, Kayla, that you even took one for the team and took your little gluten tablet, whatever it was, to have it and then go, that wasn't worth taking that tablet for.
Yeah.
We felt so bad when we played that bow pick a bow back. It's like Kayla went to the hassle of taking this pill and then going, yeah, it wasn't that nice.
Yeah, that's why I have not reviewed that yet, is from my research. To get anything on that menu dairy-free, including the vegetarian option, is to take away basically any and all toppings on lots of different. So I'm just not going to do that. Like there are plenty of other options that I love. Kayla, you were the one that introduced me to Breadbox, and I love that as an option, especially for families where like there's a lot of different ages and a lot of different maybe like taste palettes. Like getting someone to come to Cowfish with me is going to be a lot harder than telling someone, will you come get a sandwich with me? So there's a lot of, I love Breadbox. It's a great kind of backup option if I'm with people that enjoy the food that is more of my favorite. I typically won't go to Breadbox, but it's a great choice for groups.
I feel like, Shelby, you would be the one that would have the biggest issue eating at Citywalk, because I feel like a lot of the major restaurants are kind of meat-based. When you look at sort of Cowfish, Big Fire, probably Antojitos to a certain extent.
All of those have options.
Many options on.
I can eat at all those places.
Okay, but I'm saying it's just a bigger issue than someone like. I mean, I don't know what Kayla or Kelly, you have issues eating anywhere on Citywalk, like at the restaurants rather than the sort of quick service places.
I've not eaten at Vivo yet, just because that's a harder one. Italian is like the opposite for me of like what Asian would be, where it's typically very dairy friendly. Italian is really hard, both from a cross contamination and from like a taste and flavor profile. I would like to try it. It's just, again, it goes back to there are other places that I love. And so it's really hard for me to jump outside of my comfort zone and turn down something that I love to eat to try something that I don't know if I'm going to love. And again, like, I know it's only open for dinner, but like, I don't often crave pasta when I'm on a theme park vacation. So Vivo would be one that I will eventually try, but it's not high up on my list.
The only thing that came to mind for me is gluten-free. Cowfish is tough because, so sushi, a lot, I can't have like majority of sushi. I can't have majority of the sauces. I can't have tempura. I can't have like eel is typically pre-marinated. The reason I can't have the sauces is that soy sauce has wheat. And some of the stuff is marinated in soy sauce. Mm-hmm. So I can eat there. But for me, who's an adventurous eater, I would love to order these really cool things and I can't.
Yeah.
So it's like almost sad for me to go there. Like that's like the one place that that's the most tempting. Like I'm not a big sweet person, so I can go to Chocolate Emporium and I don't mind that I can't have the desserts, but for very specific for me, for cowfish, that's like where it's sad that I can eat there, but there's all these really tempting things on the menu that I wish I could eat. My soapbox of this episode, which I won't go long, is that the macaroons in Chocolate Emporium are not gluten-free.
Okay.
And I don't know why macaroons should be gluten-free. Last episode, I talked about Bake My Day because I wanted to know if their macaroons were gluten-free. And that's where I got the response that they didn't know because it's a third-party vendor. So when I get there, I'll try to ask. But again, potato salad, macaroons, what are you adding to this? I don't get it. But I got the chocolate ×5 shake, which I think is maybe the only shake that's gluten-free. And it was one of the best desserts I've ever had. And it sounded so simple. It's like just a chocolate shake with like chocolate covered strawberries. It was phenomenal. And I think like what I've heard with the Chocolate Emporium shakes is like they're with all the stuff on top, that like the stuff on top isn't the best, or like that it's just so much and it's like overwhelming. And this was just a simple shake that was really well done, and gluten-free. So I highly recommend that. And Lee, I chuckle every time you guys like on salads and stuff. They have this salad at Chocolate Emporium that's gluten-free, and it has these like little pepper things. I get it. We get it every single time we go. My husband isn't the biggest like salad eater, and we crave this salad and like we'll go, and it is phenomenal. So for like a lighter salad or like a lighter meal, Chocolate Emporium salad, which is just funny. Like you're thinking of like Chocolate Emporium and like chocolate and dessert. Their salad is phenomenal with the little peppers.
Is that the Sedona barbecue chicken with the sweetie drop peppers?
Yep.
Yeah. I love sweetie drop peppers. I saw that. I was like, ooh.
The thing is, whenever I think salad,
make that vegan.
I think of the American stand-up comedian John Panette. I don't know whether he's still alive now, and he always used to talk about the salad. And he said, salad is not food. Salad is the promise that food is coming.
Rude.
It's
true.
I mean, it could be true if you get like a side salad or something.
A boring salad. And then going back to asking and then how knowledgeable the Universal staff is, I was between two drinks and like I've never had a drink unless it's like very obvious, an alcoholic drink, that it was, I've never had a drink not be gluten-free unless it's like something obvious that's like, I don't know, like
a beer or something like that.
Yeah. And I was between two drinks, and the waitress was like, "Oh, you ordered gluten-free. You ordered your meal gluten-free. Are you celiac?" And I said, "All right, I think she knew that." And I said, "Yeah." She's like, "Oh, well, the one drink has malt, and you can't have malt."
Okay.
And so like I never in a million years, like reading the ingredients was not, I wouldn't have thought.
No.
So it was really great that I let them know. And I didn't just, because that salad is labeled gluten-free. So like I could see someone possibly not saying like, "Oh, I'm gluten-free," because it's already labeled, but definitely tell them, because just in case.
Yeah, I had the same experience at NBC Sports, where the waitress came back and with a list of the beers that were fermented with milk in them, which I didn't, it wasn't until several years ago that I like had a sip. Someone gave me a sip of like a peanut butter stout, and it's actually like a milk stout. And so it's lactose that's in it, which I'm not like, I have a milk protein allergy. So like I carry EpiPens, I have Benadryl and inhalers with me at all times. It's the protein in the milk that I'm actually allergic to, but I'm sensitive to the sugar as well. And so I ended up with a very upset stomach after tasting this peanut butter stout beer. And without even asking, the waitress brought back a list of which beers were fermented with milk in them, which was like above and beyond even what I would think to ask.
You wouldn't even think to consider it. I mean, yeah, Toothsome very specifically, we can speak the like allergy, not even request, like even our server when we had as part of the weekend, shout out because Lauren is our friend, she's awesome. Like she asked very specifically, does anyone have any allergies? And like Michelle is kind of like shellfish sensitive, and she was like, "Oh, make sure it's not cooked on the same as this." Yeah, fantastic. Talk about. Shelby, you've been very quiet in this one. Specifically, where would be... So, like, we've kind of talked about this before, vegan and vegetarian options at most places. It's like one or two. So, if you were to go to Citywalk, where would be the restaurant that you, as a vegan, would have the most entree options?
I mean, it's kind of between Antiquitos and Cowfish. Sorry, and Bob Marley.
I was going to say Cowfish. Cowfish sounds weird to say Cowfish would have vegan options at all, honestly.
Yeah, they have two vegan marked rolls. One of them is my most favorite sushi of all time. I'm a really big vegan sushi fan, and it's called the Beatbox. It's amazing. Kayla, a friend of mine, also does like gluten-free research, and she told me she confirmed this roll to be gluten-free as well. So I don't know if it's something you'd be interested in trying, but it's kind of amazing. I don't know about the sauce, but the Beatbox is top tier sushi.
You have said you're adventurous.
Bob Marley has a lot of really good options too. I'm trying to go. I haven't been there in a while, but I need to go back.
I forget that Bob Marley has food. Like I only think of it as like drinking and a band.
Yeah, they actually have quite a few. I think some of these options are also gluten sensitive. Actually, let me look. Yeah, they have stuffed peppers that are vegan and gluten sensitive, and then the curried chickpeas are both as well. So, and then a lot of sides, both. They have a lot of, I mean, they've really stepped it up. I would say all the restaurants in Citywalk have really stepped it up. Other than the ones that are not Universal owned, like we talked about before, like Hard Rock really only has one option. You have to modify it, and you still have to pay for the salmon that they remove.
I'm going to call it out. Anyone who's going to Universal Orlando and going to the Hard Rock Cafe for your lunch is doing Universal wrong, because you can eat at one of them anywhere. I've got a friend of mine who's going there in August, and I'm like, why, out of all the places on Citywalk, are you going to the Hard Rock Cafe? You've literally got one on your doorstep. I
mean, I agree with you. Bubba Gump, same thing. Like, there's really nothing to write home about there. There's like sides.
Yeah.
Margaritaville. I'm sorry. Margaritaville's horrendous. And I don't like to speak negatively in that manner, but the last time I went, it was
Awful. Say it.
One of the worst things I've ever eaten. The bun literally crumbled in my hand.
It's terrible. Brian, Laura, we don't care. I hate Margaritaville. It's terrible. I have no desire to ever eat in there ever again.
I don't think I ever have, and it's, again, not at all on my list of...
Don't put it on your list.
No, I would agree.
It's not good.
No.
It's
the nachos, unless the nachos are good, or the volcano nachos are decent, that's about the only thing worth eating in there.
Yeah, I mean, I would eat those, but it's like heavy modification, of course.
Yeah,
like,
of course.
It's just not, I'll go somewhere else with a marked option.
Mm-hmm.
I suppose when it comes to you three as well, a lot of the time it depends on what sort of mood you're in going to the parks. Because sometimes you're like, do you know what? I feel like I want to have something adventurous now, and I'm up for talking to the right person. And then other days you just think, I just can't be bothered today. I'm just gonna.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Because I can't imagine going to the parks every day and having that, right, and a kind of pre-planning of where am I going to eat today? Do I want simple or do I want... I can't imagine just having that hassle of every day having to kind of think about where you want to eat and whether you can be bothered of going through the rigmarole of, like you say, modifying stuff or just picking something random off the menu because you can't be bothered going down that route or whatever. It's just...
And who I'm with too, like that's a big factor for me of if it's my best friend or my family versus like a bigger group of people, that really changes where I go and what I order as well.
Definitely agree.
Yeah. Yeah, I know, like even just coming over September last year with, like, Tracy's not vegetarian. Apparently since coming back from Korea, she's definitely not vegetarian because she's eaten a hell of a lot of beef. But she used to be a lot of the options that she would go when we go out, she would look for vegetarian stuff. And then with Jade, our youngest, she is entirely vegetarian. And having to think about that, especially, so one of the biggest things that I find about vegetarian options, and Kayla, you'll know it from Bend the Bow, mushrooms. Mushroom is the vegetarian option, and Jade hates mushrooms with a passion. So it rules out most vegetarian options at that point because they will have mushroom in them at some point. It's such a like it was just awkward from that, and I can't even imagine, like, Shelby, not so much your like you say yours is a choice, but that's fine, at the end of the day that's up to you. But with Kayla and Kelly, obviously we're talking about a health issue at this point. Kelly, if you have something, you've told me before that you could have something that potentially put you in the hospital.
Yep. Oh
yeah, I'm sorry, Kelly, can we go back to that? You're not going to eat at Bend the Bow, right?
No.
Okay. All right, just wanted to make sure because I wish they had a vegan option, but they don't.
Yeah,
the cow buns have dairy in them, of course.
Yep. Yeah, no,
that's awesome.
Oh no, it's fine because you can get it.
Vegan bows.
You can get it in the lettuce. It's fine. You just have a lettuce bow.
I refuse.
Bend the lettuce.
Bend the lettuce.
It's a new restaurant.
They'd have to like walk over to Payway to get it or something. I don't even think they have it there.
Oh, I love it.
Oh. Yeah.
So I just did a quick Google because I was thinking about it. It hit me. The one thing Citywalk with gluten-free, there's not a lot of quick service. None of the like Panda Express, Burger King, any of those, Bend the Bow. I think the only ones are Red Oven Pizza. You can get a gluten-free pizza, and Bread Box. The Hot Dog Hall of Fame. You can get a gluten-free bun, please. Currently, they don't, or they don't have it listed, and it's like one of those things. Like, I don't like hot dogs a ton to like go over and ask, but they have like some interesting hot dogs that if it was like, oh, gluten-free bun available, I might go over because they have some funky stuff over there.
I'm surprised they don't.
I know.
Like, I'm really shocked. Maybe, but like you said, maybe they do, and it's just not on the menu.
Which is frustrating.
If I go there anytime soon, I'll ask.
Yeah.
Thank you.
To be fair, we ate at Hot Dog Hall of Fame last year. It was okay. It was okay.
Yeah. Again, that's another place that I haven't eaten at yet because I could have a hot dog anywhere, and if I'm at a theme park, I probably don't want a hot dog when I can get other things that I can't get.
Kelly, they have some nifty hot dogs on this menu.
I've seen the menu. They're interesting for sure.
The vegan hot dog is pretty good. The vegan field dog, if they have all the ingredients, is good.
Okay.
If you want a hot dog, you've got to go for a Kong dong, to be fair.
Oh my God.
I can't eat that. You know what, though? If they offer me a 12-foot or 12-inch.
Whoa!
Yes, it's Kong size, literally. A 12-inch hot dog, and it was vegan, I would eat it happily. So, just saying.
Tracy and I both took Kong's dong when we were over in December. I struggled a little bit more than she did.
You each had one?
Yes.
Oh my God.
Wow.
Yeah.
Impressive.
Anyway, let's move on, please. I'm getting a little embarrassed now.
The only other specifics, they're like fire grilled wings at NBC Sport. So my NBC Sport experience was fine.
Yeah.
I went because I went to Penn State. Penn State was playing football. It was a big game. I typically will skip or I'll just like watch on my phone, but this was like a bigger game. And I went in and I asked about it and they're like, oh, sorry, we're not playing that game. Then when I was leaving, the game was on and like a TV and it was like blocked by this pole for me. And I'm like, cool, that was nice of you. But anyway, all that aside, the fire grilled wings are delicious. And I've never had wings like that. Like you could see like almost like fiery grill marks. They're really nifty and they're gluten-free. And again, kind of back to what we talked about with Confisco, like it's nice to have something that's not fried sometimes. Something a little different. Recommend.
I love NBC. They only have one vegan option, but it's
That's the
amazing.
burger, isn't it? Yes, we've talked about that substantially.
The jackfruit.
Yes.
It's the only place other than Amatista you can get jackfruit on property now. So it's kind of like my mummy replacement. If anyone remembers, the mummy sandwich from Monsters was my favorite thing of all time.
Yeah, I've had up and down experiences with NBC Sports. Like I already explained, I had one waitress who brought me the list of beers that were fermented with lactose, but I've had really good experiences and kind of not so great experiences, but it's another place that is the food is very, I don't know what, acceptable maybe for most palates. I think burgers and grilled chicken and chicken wings
it's a sports bar.
Chicken tenders and things like that. But they have changed their menu since I've last been there. And it is somewhere that I'm willing to give another shot because I have had positive experiences there on top of some not so great ones. I love Big Fire. That's a really great option for me. Like I said, I will sometimes eat vegan, but I am very much so like prefer meat dishes if that's safe and available. And I had one of the best steaks of my life there. And they were very allergen friendly. Like even it was both here and Amatista's that one time I was there for someone else's birthday. Like it wasn't even my birthday. And they brought me out a dairy-free treat when they brought out the birthday treat for the other person, saying like, well,
I remember you telling me. Yes.
We guessed you would have,
shared.
We're sure that you would have split this had you been able to. So we brought something out for you too. So great experience.
That's sweet.
Yeah.
I think that just shows Citywalk overall. Like we talk about the restaurants on Citywalk a lot on the podcast, and I think it's your experience can come down to any given moment. So you could go to Kelly, you said your experience at Big Fire was really, really good. Our most recent experience of Big Fire was not great, and we loved that place after our first visit. Our last one was not great, and it's not somewhere that we feel the urge to want to go to anytime soon. In fact, Michelle wanted to go as part of our family meal in when we will go, have been in September. And I think we're going, I can't remember where we're going now. I think we're going to Vivo. We went to Vivo. Edit, delete, whichever one. But I wasn't overly impressed with it yet. The first time we went, it was phenomenal. And again, like our first cowfish experience is a thing of legend at this point. And yet it's one of our favourite places on property now. It's just, I think you've just got to take it as as a moment in time, like I say, that one person can go and have a fantastic experience, and then someone can go the next day and have a terrible experience. You could go one day and have a great experience, and the next day have a horrible experience. It is what it is when you take it. But we've always said, don't let one person's experience put you off going anywhere.
Yeah.
Because of that reason. Yeah.
Yeah, I think, again, with those third-party restaurants, one more thing I did want to say is that if it's a Universal-owned property, and this is for both theme parks and Citywalk and the hotels, they have their like dedicated kitchen and their dedicated suppliers, but third-party restaurants don't necessarily use that. So I found, especially during COVID, when like supply chain was very limited, that things that had been safe for me to eat before were no longer safe, or vice versa, because they were sourcing their materials from different places for a while. And I don't know, I'll have to double check before, well, I will have double checked by now, I guess, my September trip. But I love cowfish. And for a while, their imitation crab, the Connie, was from a company that put whey in it as a cheat filler. And whey is one of the dairy proteins that I'm allergic to. And so you would look at a California roll and not think that there was dairy in that, but I had to modify it or it's the, my favorite roll has no dairy in it. It's the like Jen's Fresh Find roll. It comes with this like little side of spicy tuna. That's amazing. But that is one thing to double check again. I think that is my point that I'll drive home, is that you always have to double check no matter what, but especially at third party restaurants, because they don't source their materials consistently from the same place.
So when we talk about third party places, what are we talking about here? Margaritaville, Bubba Gump, Hard Rock, Cowfish. We're including Cowfish.
Everywhere but Chocolate Emporium, right? And Bend the Bow.
No, Big Fire is Universal. Vivo, I would say, is NBC, must be Universal. Red Oven.
But Universal still technically, other than the main three that we just talked about, like Bubba Gump and Hard Rock and what's the other one? Margaritaville. Universal can give you information on those, so they do have access to that.
Okay.
So like if you email food allergy, they can provide you, but those other ones, like I've asked about Hard Rock before, I'm like, can you tell me what's vegan? They're like, no, you have to reach out directly to the restaurant, which is annoying, but
well, it isn't, because it's Hard Rock. You shouldn't be going anywhere.
Yeah.
Hey, they're fajitas. I will defend the Hard Rock fajitas until the day that I die, but I will also not go there very often.
Yeah. It's like $20-something for their pasta dish that they can make vegan. Like I said, but you still have to pay for the salmon. It's like, I've been there once to have it.
All right. Hard Rock and Margaritaville have gluten-free brownies.
That's nice.
Like, put that
so
out
that's
there.
the only reason
Red Box has a vegan brownie. Sorry.
Yeah, that's the only reason I ever to expect you to set foot in either of those two restaurants. Then, Kayla, is because you want a brownie, and that's the only reason you're going in.
And that's actually my favorite. Brownie sundaes are my favorite dessert.
Nice.
Okay.
So I would eat that for dinner. Next time you see me, Lee, in September, I'm going to be like with my brownie. I'll be like crying of joy.
With chocolate smeared round your mouth like a 6-year-old. Yeah. Right, I feel like we're kind of easing over to the hotel, so I'm going to take a quick break and keep Michelle happy, and then we'll be back.
Man, we need a vacation.
Oh, I got this.
Whoa, that's awesome. But I was thinking something a little more adventurous.
Okay, how about this?
Yes!
And how about some relaxation from Mama?
Oh, perfect. Wait, how did you do that?
Easy. PortKey Vacations.
For your next vacation, let PortKey Vacations take away all the guesswork and stress of planning. From air and hotel to theme park tickets and everything else in between, they've got you covered. Just visit PortKeyVacations.com and touch the PortKey to get started with your free, no-obligation quote request. With just one touch, and PortKey Vacations will magically take you wherever you want to go.
Welcome back, everyone. We are here with Kayla, Kelly, and Shelby, and we're going to talk about the hotels. And like I said at the beginning, the hotels are one of those that they're not really in my peripheral a lot of the time when I'm on. But having stayed on property a lot more over our last few trips, we have eaten it a lot more. One of the places we really enjoyed, and Kayla, I'll get your experience of it. Kelly, I know you ate there recently, and I know, Shelby, you have as well, is island dining at the Royal Pacific. That General Tso's chicken is amazing.
Oh, wow.
That would not be gluten-free.
No, it won't, but it was phenomenal. I know a couple did the wok experience when we did our progressive water walking taxi dinner thing, and that looked, for the price, unreal. Breakfast there's phenomenal. It's just such a really good restaurant, and Royal Pacific's an awesome hotel.
Yeah, I just had my first experience there, and it will definitely not be my last. Almost the entire menu is dairy-free, and which was a little overwhelming when I was there. But in something like that, when I don't have to modify it, that typically means that other people in my party might also get something that just happens to be dairy-free, and then I get to try what they ordered.
Awesome.
Which does very, very, very rarely happens unless I'm with, like, when I go to the parks with my best friend, she'll often order off of the dairy-free menu so that we can split 2 dishes between us instead of just getting one thing. But I had a great experience with Islands Dining. Although I thought they were supposed to have vegan desserts, and the waitress told me they didn't have any. So
I was about to ask you, how recently did you go?
Like 2 weeks ago.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah. She said they were out of...
Okay.
I thought there was something coconut. And then
there
she
is.
said, okay. She said they were supposed to have chocolate cake, but they didn't have any.
Oh, I'm so sorry, because that's one of the best things I've ever put in my mouth.
Oh, no, you just killed Kelly now.
Yeah, both the desserts and the kimchi fried rice. Like, I just actually made a post on Instagram a couple days ago. I was like, I would go back just for those 3 items. I would just eat that, because the 3 of them were incredible.
Because they have just expanded their vegan menu quite a lot, haven't they,
it's a whole vegan. Well, it's a vegan and a vegetarian menu now. So,
because I know you went over recently, didn't you, and tried quite a lot of it.
I went with a couple friends, and we ordered not everything, because there was like a couple sides. I'm like, I'm not ordering. I don't remember what it was.
How much of a flex is that? We ordered everything apart from a couple of sides, because we just didn't want them.
It was a very expensive night.
I'm sure.
We don't do that very often. But like, how often is there a whole vegan and vegetarian?
Exactly.
Menu? So
yeah,
it was really good. Go back for that dessert. The chocolate raspberry cake, I think. and the how I don't know how you say it. Haupia. Someone's gonna make a comment. Cream pie. It has pineapple in it, just so you guys know. For some reason, it's not in the description, and we were like, "Oh, this has pineapple at the bottom." Oh, it's not in the description.
That's weird.
Yeah, it was, and I'm like, people have pineapple allergies. This is not good.
Because again, I don't know what your experience eating at the hotels is. We haven't eaten a lot there. We ate at Pier 8 at Dockside, which was pretty decent, to be fair. The kitchen we haven't been to in a long time, or depending on what you talk about, we were there in September. So I can't really talk about it now, but we are going there. But I have eaten there twice, but only ever done the kitchen challenge, which I'm assuming none of you 3 will have done. It doesn't even exist anymore.
What is that?
So let's explain.
You don't want to know.
So
I don't think I do.
It used to be the Hard Rock Hotel's kitchen sink challenge. It was their food challenge. It was let me get this right, the kitchen burger with a side of fries, and it was like a bucket, a whole deep fried pickle, and a slice of the kitchen cake. Now, the kitchen cake is what kills you. It is 7 slices.
It's huge, right?
It is like this big.
Wow. They should make a vegan one, and I will do that.
In half an hour. We've done it. We've tried it twice. No, the record, as far as I'm aware, is a guy called Daniel the Garbage Man something or other did it in 9 minutes.
Oh,
the whole thing?
Demolished,
just the cake?
The whole thing. He demolished the burger in like a minute and a half.
Oh.
This is not healthy.
Well, we had...
there's no judgments on people's eating habits at all, but like... That's got to be horrible for your tummy. So,
Shelby, to put it in perspective, we had a professional eater on the podcast last year, the year before. Katina eats kilos. She's dating like one of the top professional eaters in the world at this point. She is 5'2" and weighs nothing, and she put it away in 28 minutes.
Wow.
I didn't even finish the burger. I think I was like, I'm going to throw up in a minute.
You're like, I'm out.
Yeah, they don't even do it anymore.
I want my nickname to be the garbage woman. from now on.
Yeah, that's pretty epic.
I mean, Kayla,
Kayla,
if you want me to refer to you that every time I mention you on the podcast, it's done.
I mean, I saw what you did to those tots over the weekend when you were really hungry. So,
oh, I'm going to have a word with Brian and Laura as well. I need to make this a thing.
If we're getting nicknames, I want mine to be the pickle.
Okay. Oh, I like it. Okay.
Oh,
we can make that happen.
I need a nickname now. I don't know what my nickname should be. But back to the kitchen. I love that restaurant. That was my birthday dinner last year was there. And they have really, really great specials. That's another thing I would say is ask about whether the specials are allergy accommodated or not, because typically, like, if the chef has designed that meal, then that means that it's pretty easily adaptable. So I got this like grouper dish last September that was absolutely phenomenal, and they had lemon meringue pie that was vegan that they brought out.
I was about to mention they usually have a seasonal vegan pie
It was really good, but just great service from top to bottom. Like, they had it. I put in my food allergies when I made the reservation, and they asked me when I checked in. They were like, okay, we see we have a dairy allergy. Is it just one? Do you want to see the regular menu? Do you only want the allergen menu? Like, just very easy to accommodate on that end. So I definitely recommend the kitchen.
So we talked about the restaurants at Citywalk kind of being, Kayla, you put it as like real restaurants rather than theme park restaurants. Would we be right in saying that we think the sort of sit down restaurants at the hotels, so like the Kitchen, like Amatista, the Palm, Beach Air, Mamadella's, and that would be a step above the Citywalk restaurants in regards of like an even more real restaurant?
I would say Citywalk is more real for me, or I would say they're more real, and I would say the difference is that they're a little bigger menus at Citywalk. There's a little bit more options. But so yeah, if I had to say like a tier list for gluten-free, my perspective, it would go Citywalk, hotels, and then the parks.
Okay. Because I would think maybe that the hotel restaurants would be more accommodating because they'll get less. I would expect them to get less traffic than a Citywalk restaurant would. Because generally, again, like I've kind of alluded to, you generally only eat there if you're staying there. I would say the vast majority of people eating at the Palm would be staying at the Royal Pacific or like the Kitchen because you're staying there. Would you agree or not agree?
I would say that the quick service at the hotels is a step above both the quick service at Citywalk and the parks. I've had great, I love, what's it called? Cabana Bay.
Bayliner. Yeah.
Bayliner. I've had really great experiences there. If I were to rank the quick service, it would be that the hotels are the best, and then probably Citywalk, and then the hotel or the parks. But I don't know. I feel like Citywalk and the hotels are pretty even for me as far as a safe experience where I know that I will have multiple options at different places that I go.
I think you can look at the hotel restaurants and see a definite delineation between sort of a Dockside, Surfside, Cabana Bay, and possibly an Aventura, and then a step up to Sapphire Falls, because they seem to be more sort of food courty at the lower end ones, whereas you go into probably starting with Sapphire Falls, with Amatista, and then moving up to like Royal Pacific and that into much more of a sit down option. I think the lower tier ones are more geared for people just wanting to run in, grab something to eat, and then hit the parks. As far as the hotels go, Shelby, other than Royal Pacific we talked about, how are they accommodation-wise for vegan options?
They're pretty good. I mean, it depends on quick service versus sit-down, of course. Bayliner Diner is really good at Cabana. I haven't been to Dockside or Surfside recently, but they do have a couple options that are marked. They only have quick service, obviously. There's no sit down there. Yeah, they're good. It just depends on where you go. Of course, Island Dining Room, like we talked about, is really good. Amatista's good. I don't typically go to like Hard Rock or Portofino to eat because they have less vegan options, because those are obviously a little bit fancier, I guess.
They are very expensive
than the other hotels. Yeah. So those are a little more tough, and they do offer some stuff, but then you also have to think about the price point that you're paying. And like you were saying before, typically some people will only eat there if they dine, or eat there if they're staying there. So I think that is true. Yeah, because I don't frequent those.
Yeah, I think a lot of people don't realize as a theme park guest that you can go and eat at the hotels.
Yeah, I think a lot of people don't realize you could just like hop on a boat or a bus or a walk.
But I mean, they are generally more expensive than elsewhere. Yeah. I mean, Portofino very specifically, we did our episode on Portofino, Beach, Mamadella's, just so expensive. I mean, we spent 5 days at Portofino last December and didn't eat there at all, just purely because of how expensive it is. There's only Michelle that can afford to eat at those places. To find out and say it, she doesn't listen. So unless one of you three tell her, or however many people listening go and tell her, just tell her I don't care. It is expensive. Like Mamadella's, Tracy and I were going to eat there, and it was just, we looked at the menu and it's probably going to cost us $100 for the two of us, quite comfortably.
Yeah, which
is a lot.
Yep.
And then what Shelby said earlier, I forget what about, like sometimes. So you're spending that much money and there's no change if you're eliminating something.
Yeah, that's a problem.
And I think for me, it's not as big, but yeah, like if Shelby's getting a steak and something without the steak, I mean, that should be a significant price change, and it's not that way. So I think,
or even an upcharge, like it's not only like I have to take stuff off, but I have to pay more for what's there if I have to switch out the bun or something like that. Like that's a social soapbox that is not specific just to Universal Resorts, but general. Wishing that I didn't have to pay extra for a different kind of milk in my coffee or things like that. Like I long for those days, but that is not specific to Universal alone. So I won't get fully on that soapbox right now.
No, but you're totally right. It's not. For me, it's not acceptable. I went the one time to Hard Rock Cafe just because, like, I kind of have to eat everything at some point or another, and I mean, it kind of burned my butt to like pay that price. But I'm like, I'll do it for the sake of the cause. But it's not right. There should be a button that says remove whatever. Like it's not that difficult.
Yep. To add. Like say for example, like a steakhouse burger. That's supposed to come with like bacon, cheese, and fried onion rings on top. Well, if I don't get the cheese or the fried onion rings, but I still want the bacon, I can't just order a basic, a $12 hamburger and add bacon to it. I have to order the $16 hamburger.
Right.
And get half the stuff that doesn't, there's no sauce, there's no this, things like that. So there's not really.
And still pay the same price.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree with Portofino as far as like I've eaten there. I know my family stayed there when I was younger one time on one of the like Florida resident promotional things, but we must have eaten at the hotel, but I don't remember where we ate. And other than that, when I was there last September, just did not find dairy-free options that were worth the price point. So kind of going right back to what everyone was saying. But I want to try Pier 8. I stayed at Dockside last in December, and there was a cheerleading competition also staying at Dockside, and they had completely overrun Pier 8 to the point where I chose to eat at the McDonald's in the airport rather than get dinner at Pier 8 before I got an Uber to the airport. So that tells you how much I avoided Pier 8 last time I was there. But I definitely want to give it a chance at some point.
I was impressed with Bar 17 when we went there. Having never been there and never really kind of being interested in going to Aventura, the space up the top, the views are amazing. The food was really good. I mean, I don't know again, I'm coming at it from a very different point of view from you three, but Kayla, I know you were there with us. How was Bar 17 for you?
I was just gonna say, so to back up what I said about like why I think Citywalk is a little bit higher from a sit-down restaurant perspective. I just confirmed. So like at bar 17, I think the only, like, I couldn't have any of the appetizers. So in summary, it seems like the appetizers and desserts are very much lacking. It looked like Islands Dining did have one gluten-free dessert, didn't have an appetizer. I know bar 17 didn't have a gluten-free appetizer. I had to get a salad, which I like salads, so it's fine. But it also is fun to get something a little different. So yeah, it seems like that's the big thing. There's some really great meal options, but some of that more fun stuff that, like, if you're going to go with friends and you want to split an appetizer and get a meal, like, that's not really an option right now for gluten-free. And then what was it? Strong Water Tavern, it didn't have a dessert. So I just got another drink, which I didn't need.
I'm going to agree with you there. It's the same thing for vegan. Like, there are very few places where you can get like a 3-course meal. Like back during Mardi Gras, you know, they did the ride and dine. People were asking me like, what restaurant should I go to if I'm vegan and I want to do this? And like, none of them, because you can't get 3 courses anywhere. Like Cowfish has a couple, you know, appetizers and entrees, and then you go over to Twosome and they have a dessert and an appetizer, but there's no entree. And I'm like, can we get like a full thing anywhere in Citywalk? You can get it on Islands Dining Room now. Obviously, they have that whole vegan menu, but that's like out of the norm.
That is a really interesting point that I've never even considered, that they should have an option for every part of the menu, and they don't. Yeah. That's weird.
They don't.
It's so weird.
That's an excellent point, Shelby. Like, they run these promos that we can't participate in.
We can't.
And so it sucks.
Yeah, I've never that never even occurred to me at all. That I don't understand why. Even if there was just one appetizer, one entree, and one dessert, at least someone can go and have a yeah. But to not give you an option for every course is weird.
It's the same for dairy allergies, that appetizers and desserts are. It's so rare to find a dairy-free dessert anywhere or they'll like be like, okay, yeah, we have fruit, and they bring me out like a kid's fruit cup and charge me $7 for it, like.
The pain.
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, they had one.
Same.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've never. That's such a weird thing. Like you say, that Kayla, the perfect thing is that they put a promotion on. Mm-hmm. So we're going to charge you an amount to do something that we've never charged you to do before. So more people are going to want to do it because I can guarantee that I'm going to get on a parade float. Oh, and cool, I get a meal as well. But if you have any sort of allergy, then you're paying. I mean, effectively, you're paying the whole price for the meal, to be fair, because they're giving you something that has no monetary value to it. Yep. So you're paying, whatever it was, $50 to potentially eat one course and a drink?
Yeah, it's not fair.
Or that the appetizer that comes out for me oftentimes is like what you were talking about, Lee, like a plain salad, as in it's like lettuce and a cucumber slice and a tomato, and they sometimes not even a dressing that I can have. So they'll bring out like olive oil and vinegar. Yeah, it's like, and then I look across the table at my dad who has a calzone and my brother who has chicken wings as his appetizer, and it's like, how did we pay the same for this?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And you could ask, like, hey, can I talk to the chef? Can they make me something? But 9 times, I mean. Look, I'll give them a lot of credit. They're busy and there's a lot of things going on, but
of course
they can't always do it and be like, I'll make you something special.
Especially prefixed, anything prefixed.
Yes, exactly.
I've almost never been able to participate in.
Yeah. Look, again, to give them the due, like you say, we are talking about potentially whenever you go, really, there's no downtime anymore. Very, very busy restaurants. And of course, you can only ask. And yeah, we've the three people I've got here with me have had those experiences of chefs coming out and making them very specific things. That's not the norm. People don't go in expecting that. But again, have a conversation and see where it goes. But don't just feel like. I think the biggest thing from talking to you three is don't be scared to at least voice that you have an issue with something and see what they can come up with to accommodate you, because for the most part I think they are going to be accommodating. But to not even speak up, not even give them that opportunity, then at the end of the day you're the one that's missing out.
And even if you're not getting a specialized chef meal, the wait staff is pretty great, especially at those sit-down restaurants, and those are at Citywalk hotels and in park. They're very knowledgeable, and they can guide you. So yeah, if you don't get the grilled chicken, the chicken wings grilled like I did, you'll get a dedicated gluten-free fryer, and you know that it's safe. So again, you might not get that personalized experience, but the staff is getting really well. They're very well educated now versus a couple of years ago.
I'll reiterate that too from last episode of, even if what you're ordering off the menu accommodates you, so if something is naturally dairy-free or gluten-free or nut-free or whatever that is, still tell them about your allergy, specifically if it's allergies, because they will prepare that in a different way than they would prepare it for someone who is just ordering it right off the menu. They'll change their gloves, they'll clean the workspace, they'll use a clean knife, things like that. So always make sure that you say that you have an allergy, even if the menu item that you're ordering is already allergy friendly, because it will change the way that they prepare your meal.
Yeah, I think Kelly's got it on the head perfectly, because the more people speak to them, that's how they learn. Because if they don't know there's an issue, then they're just going to keep doing what they're doing. And so by bringing up all the issues that you have, that's how they learn that people need this. Because I guess it kind of going back to last episode, talking about Central Park crepes, specifically with the getting rid of the savoury vegan option, I'm guessing that comes from the fact that not many people were ordering it. So I suppose it's the same thing. If they're not going to necessarily put more effort into providing gluten-free options or dairy-free options, if they're not seeing enough people coming through that need that accommodation made. Does that make sense? They're still going to have it there, but if they see more and more people coming through who need gluten-free buns and stuff, then maybe that then becomes the norm of having them as an option all the time, rather than just on request or like that type of thing. Or we can, like Kayla, every time she goes into a restaurant, I want you to put this on your menu. And then if everyone else comes in and does that, then I want this gluten-free option, and they see people looking for that option, then they're more likely to do it because they're seeing that need for that there. And I think that's the issue, that they can only go by what they're seeing. So, and a lot of people are quiet and don't want to kick up a stink and don't want to make a fuss when they're on vacation. But from a perspective of wanting them to accommodate as many people as possible, not necessarily kicking up a stink, just making them aware of it, then they learn by that experience and make it easier for people like you guys to get what you need in the theme parks and be able to hopefully enjoy more of the stuff that I don't want to say normal people because it sounds wrong, but you know what I mean, people without any sort of dietary restrictions can, because it's such a shame that you don't get to have that full experience, because food is such a part of visiting theme parks in general, but Universal definitely now. You know, food, I think we talked about it last week with Halloween Horror Nights and Mardi Gras and the holidays. It's so geared up now to be, it's effectively the Universal, like you look at Mardi Gras, it is the Universal version of Disney's Food and Wine Festival at this point. That's what it's become.
Yep, which they have totally stepped it up. Food and Wine has started serving gluten-free and vegan and dairy-free options too. So it's Universal's turn to kind of step up their specialty foods, because they don't want to get, you can't compete when, you know, Disney's got that many options between the two.
There was a ton of gluten-free at Food and Wine.
Yeah.
And yeah, not as much at HHN or Mardi Gras.
And you think the Food and Wine's very similar to Mardi Gras and Horror Nights. They're just little booths serving food. So if they can, Universal haven't got that excuse of the just because they're doing out of temporary booths that they can't offer those options there. I'm looking at you, vegan churros, by the way.
We had quite a few gluten sensitive options at Mardi Gras, just saying.
Okay.
This year was better. They've definitely stepped it up.
That's good though.
But I want to piggyback on what you guys were saying, partially about Disney and partially about like making your server aware. I wish Universal would kind of take the initiative, or maybe I don't know who it's on in the training, just to ask when you, like, if you're ordering a quick service or if you're sitting down somewhere, just be like, hey, do you guys have any dietary restrictions or allergies? Like, because some people are very quiet and don't want to say anything.
That's a good point.
And you're nervous, you're on vacation, you're in a new place, you know, like I'm seasoned. I go to the park all the time. I'm used to talking to these people. I'm used to seeing them. I don't, like you guys, Kelly and Kayla, I don't have any problems going up and being like, hey, I have 14 questions for you. You're going to answer them. But most people aren't going to do that, especially if you have an allergy, probably. I don't know. Some people are shy. And so I just wish that was like implemented more, where it's like Universal reaching out and being like, hey, do you have anything that we need to be aware of before we prepare your food?
That's a really good point. Yeah, the onus shouldn't necessarily be. No, on the guest, you're right.
Yeah.
And I think like that goes back to our friend Lauren in Twosome. Yeah, she asked us, does anyone at the time? It could have come down to the fact that there was a massive group of us. Where it's probably knowing that we're all ordering different stuff but yeah, it should be a case of when you sit down, does anybody have any allergies? It's a simple question and it solves any hassle, and it's an easy thing. Like you say, it doesn't take a lot, and it just makes it easy for like people coming over from the UK to the US for the first time. It's a culture shock. I've said it before, the US, it feels like home, but it's different enough that it's not like home. So it is a culture shock coming over there, and the theme parks and everything. The US is so different from at home, and then throwing that into it could be a case of that people don't want to make a fuss. So yeah, it should be. That's actually probably one of the better points that's been brought up tonight. Yeah, it should be just a case of the server asking.
It happened when we went to Island's dining room a few weeks ago. Our server actually did do that. And we were like, wow, that's refreshing. Like, it doesn't happen frequently enough.
And it should, literally every time.
It should.
Yeah, but yeah, that would solve a lot of problems.
Yeah, especially then it's on Universal it's on Universal. Not that this is okay one way or another, but I am most hesitant to bring up my allergies or to ask for something that I really want at a quick service where there's 850 angry, hungry people behind me.
I agree with you.
This is, I mean, again, not okay one way or another, but I don't want the eye rolling and arm crossing and foot tapping and frustrated sigh
from all the guests.
From all the guests behind me. It's not. I've never gotten frustration from the team members. It's the people behind me. But if it's Universal that's asking me, hey, is there any way that anything we need to know about that as far as accommodations go? That takes a little bit of the blame or anger off of me, which I know I'm holding up the line. I'm not unaware. I don't need your like exasperated sigh to let me know that I am holding up the line. I've been doing this for almost 35 years. Like, I'm very aware that this is frustrating and I don't want to be doing this, but also I really want a burger. I don't want a salad that is a piece of lettuce and a tomato right now. Like, I really want to figure out if I could eat this burger or those chicken wings or this, salad or whatever. So I've gotten better about advocating for myself, but it would be great if Universal also let me know that they were advocating for me too.
Yep.
We need to send a big email blast with all of our listeners to Universal Orlando Guest Services and just put all the bullet points down that we've brought up over the last 2 weeks of things we want implemented, and just get people to send it once a week, every week for the next 6 months.
I hope that by the time this comes out, it will already be done. We don't have to tell them anything.
Yeah.
Because, and I know, like, all this to say, I think like the two big things, if they ask, and that's a great thing, and then at least for me, again, like the gluten-free optional, that people be more aware of what's easily optional, and then if it's dead, or if you're at a sit-down restaurant, that if there's stuff like, oh, we could cook this a certain way, that maybe it wouldn't even be marked optional.
Yep.
That like okay, like a sandwich. We know we have gluten-free bread, so that's like a gluten-free optional. And then the chicken wings, if we can bake them in the oven versus frying them, they're gluten-free, and that's not always an option if it's really, really crowded, but that's where like that interaction with the waitstaff can come into play. That those two things added, I had heard that like Disney was ahead of Universal in the dietary restriction land, which I think they are in terms of some of the menu stuff. It's a little easier. But for me, at least, and I'm not just saying this on a Universal podcast, and I'll say flat out, I thought my festival experience at Disney was better than an HHN or a Mardi Gras food related.
How dare you?
Only food related, everything else. But every restaurant's quick service, hotel, Universal food for me has far surpassed Disney gluten-free.
Okay.
I look forward to ordering, like I have a limited menu, whatever, but like I very much look forward to meals at Universal. And I went to Disney, was it last year? And I don't know, everyone was saying that their gluten-free food was just so much better. I just didn't see it. So for me, the quality of the Universal gluten-free food is there, and it's getting better and better with every year. And now it's like some of these little things I think would be actually quicker to change, like adding the gluten-free optional, adding this part of the wait staff's training is to ask. So there's like some just little things that are missing that would just, I think, make it even that much better.
I would also like a vegan option, because I'm constantly playing this game where I'm like, ooh, this looks like it could be vegan. Let me email Universal Food and Beverage, and I will list out like what I think this would make this item vegan. And it's honestly frustrating because I don't necessarily get a very specified answer back. But like, I don't like having to play that game. Like you don't either, Kayla. Like we shouldn't have to be like asking them, like, can we modify all these things so we can have more options? Like, can you just like do the work for us? And again, I'm volunteering Universal. If you would like to hire me, I will gladly do this for everyone. Anyway, sorry, Kelly.
Yeah, no, I was just going to go back to like training for wait staff, and this is the restaurant industry in general, and awareness around food allergies and the availability of options has exploded in recent years. Like I've told the story before that when I was born, like my mom had to mail order soy milk from California, and it would come in like a styrofoam cooler with dry ice in it. Like, and now I can get 4 different dairy-free milk options at the gas station. Like, oh my gosh, just how far it has come. But for like, it always surprises me how little like front of line wait staff and food service staff know about very basic food needs. Like I've been told before, like, why would you need to change the bread? There's no milk in bread. And it's like, no, there's milk in most breads. Like, or I'll be like, does this have butter? They were like, oh, we forgot about butter. Butter's dairy. Like that sort, like just those very, very basic things that could be a 15-minute part of their 6-day training before they're ever allowed on the floor. Like if it would be possible for just very general awareness of basic food allergy needs and things like that, if they're going to be trained to ask, do you need any accommodations as far as food goes? That general awareness is getting better, but there's room for improvement there.
I definitely agree. I was talking with my partner, Steven, earlier, and he was like talking about how he's dined at restaurants and they'll ask him, or he'll tell them that he's vegan, and they'll bring him bread with butter. And he's like, I can't eat that. Like, why are you bringing this to me? And they're not thinking like, there's milk or eggs or whatever in the bread, let alone knowing butter is dairy. Disney has dairy-free butter, thankfully, but we don't have that yet at Universal.
I think what's going to be interesting is to see what Epic Universe is like when Epic Universe opens, to see everything that they've taken on board over the last few years, and they've still got a couple of years to kind of learn and grow. But I think that's when you're going to see really how far Universal have come as far as food in general, and then obviously dietary restrictions and stuff as well when that place opens. because obviously every one of those food places will have been built from the ground up, knowing the type of people, and probably not even looking at the average universal guest, because it's not going to be that. It's going to be everybody coming through that place. So it will be very interesting to see what the food options are like when Epic Universe opens. And yeah, Shelby, you can have your work cut out, girl.
Oh, I cannot wait. I can't even tell you how exciting that is.
Epic Universe does worry me, because Universal's getting a very expensive trip as it is, and then when you start throwing in potential new hotels and however the pricing is going to be for Epic Universe, because I know from helping Tracy plan her trip to Universal Japan, looking at how their ticketing and express pass system works, I'm expecting that it might be something like that. I think it's become very expensive and a lot more hassle, but that is a story for a different time.
Keep your fingers crossed for gluten-free crepes at Epic. I really might cry if I got to eat a crepe. I'm not even kidding. I mean, if there is it, I'll take a video and I'll share it with everyone, and I will get like food all over my face. I'll be like, oh my God, it's happening. Like, so happy.
If they can do a vegan crepe, cool. I think they can do a gluten-free vegan crepe.
Oh, and that vegan crepe was so good. That savory crepe was good, and it was filling. It was a good meal. That's another tiny soapbox of mine, and then I promise I'll get down for the evening. But when they take away like a savory option and only have a sweet option, like whereas a savory option would have been a meal that was filling and protein, and I'm not going to be hungry in an hour, like that kind of makes me angry. But also don't want them to take away all the sweet options, because I also don't get dessert very often.
I know it's like a double-edged sword, right? Like I know they're trying to find the balance of that too. Like what are we offering where? Because we don't really have that many dessert options if we really think about it at the hotel, at Twosome and the crepe. Like that's kind of it, unless you want Dole Whip, which Dole Whip's Dole Whip.
I wonder what the percentage of people who are going to Central Park Crepes are that are ordering savoury ones over dessert ones.
That's a good question.
It'd be quite interesting to see the difference.
I would be savoury.
I think it would probably the higher percentage on savoury, quite honestly, because I think that's what you think of, I would think.
I think sweet when I think about crepes, but I bet it would depend on time of the day. If it's like around lunchtime or right at dinner time, I bet it's more savory, and then the sweet might be like an afternoon treat or an evening.
I mean, what I don't get about that place is Tracy was desperate for the holiday crepe that they did last year. So we went like 12:30, 1 o'clock in the afternoon. So it wasn't late. They'd already ran out of the stuff to make it.
And that happens with the vegan one too. So like some people will tell me like, oh, I went at, 5 o'clock or something, and they didn't have any more vegan ingredients, and I've waited in this line for I don't know how long.
Yeah.
Like I wish there was a little communication there. Like if you're out of ingredients for something, like I don't care if you put a piece of tape over it, like you do.
That's what I was
festival.
Gonna say. Like I know it's tacky, but like when I roll up to a food truck and see 3 things crossed out in a dry erase marker, I'm not gonna wait in line.
Exactly. That's what we did. Yeah, we waited 20 minutes. We get to the front of the line. We go to order. I got the brisket, just like the holiday, and she's like, oh, we don't have it. And she was like, great, well, I don't want anything else off the menu. So we'd have gone. So I ended up getting the brisket, and then she went to Louis to get a slice of pizza, but I waited because I wanted to eat together. So by the time I got mine, it was cold.
Oh no.
There's a whole hassle. But we will get there. They will get there. Like I say, I think I think the biggest thing we've come out of these 2 conversations with is that they are growing, they are learning, things are getting better, and it's it's a slow process. But the fact that you can see that those progressions are being made is good. I think it would be more concerning if things were at the same level playing field as they were 5-10 years ago, and we can see that they're not by a long shot.
None of us could eat if that was the case. Well, you could leave, but the rest of us could not eat. And I'm not going back to popcorn and pretzels. I refuse.
No.
Yep. I have not eaten a handmade peanut butter and jelly sandwich that I made that morning in the hotel in like 5 years now.
That's great. I'm glad to hear that. Because yeah, that's not acceptable. No one should have to do that.
Cool. Right. Well, it's been a blast talking to you three. It's been awesome. Like I said, because we're recording this earlier, I haven't had this much adult conversation in a very long time. And I say adult, you know what I mean. But that's going to end again, Shelby, plug your place on the internet, because we should.
Oh, come check me out, universalorlandovegans.com. Find me on Instagram. We have a Facebook group that we love interacting with everyone about, or on, can't talk. Just come find us. If you guys have questions, just send me a message on Instagram.
Yeah, and if you're hiring, same address.
I'm here.
There you go.
I was gonna say, like, I'll like volunteer if they ever want to just like talk to me about allergens.
Absolutely.
Listen,
same thing.
Honestly, we could all partner in some way, because honestly, Kayla, on my website, I do have a gluten-free section, and it's tough for me because it's hard to find vegan and gluten-free. But like, if you want to partner on that, and Kelly, obviously, we could probably find a way to do it as well, where like we could get into like shared fryers and things like that for both of you, actually. So there's opportunity for us to work together.
Yeah. It's like giving back too, because for all the like blood, sweat, and tears that me and my family and my friends have put into figuring this crap out in the last couple years, where it's becoming more like, I want to give that back in some way if I can. Like I said last episode, if families have questions about bringing their kids there who have food allergies and things like that, more than happy to help plan on that front, just because that was such a struggle for me and my family when I was growing up.
I'm feeling another spin-off podcast coming here. We need another podcast in the UUOP Network. I'm feeling it.
Where we only talk about food and we're starving the whole time.
Exactly. My stomach is growling so loud. That's why I keep muting my microphone, is because my stomach is growling that loud.
Yeah, I apologize, Lee. Mine growled a couple times, and I'm like, oh, that might have gotten on the mic. I don't know.
Hey, it's a perfect podcast for it. It's fine. Thanks, guys. I really appreciate you coming on to talk about food. I mean, who doesn't want to talk about food? We could talk about it all the time. Exactly. But that's going to wrap up another podcast. I think I don't actually know when this comes out, but it's probably about the end of the year at this point. So you've had a good Christmas, and we'll see you next year. But I think we're about that point. I'm not quite sure. But of course, we're going to end the podcast as we do with a Universal Is, and this one comes from Kimmy Walker. But yes, another end of UUOP. We will see you in the next episode. But for now, Kimmy says Universal is my happy place. See you next week.
That was another episode of the Unofficial Universal Orlando Podcast, the best and only podcast about Universal Orlando on the island. Check us out on social media on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, and Pinterest. Just search UUO Podcast. For all the podcasts, news, and articles, check out our blog at uuopodcast.com. Contact us at podcast@uuopodcast.com. Join the Producers Club by emailing us at uuopproducers@gmail.com. Listen and subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, and everywhere else podcasts are found. Check out our friends, the Theme Park Duo, for all your other theme park news, and email Michelle at portkeyvacations.net to book your next trip. So until next time, this is Amity 6, call off the Marines, we're coming home.